So welcome again to Inner Fitness, and our topic today is a big one, probably one of the biggest. It's letting go. So as usual, we're going to start with a reflection, and then we'll dive in and see what this topic really means. So sitting comfortably, and even starting on the physical level, just letting go on the physical level, letting go of tension in the body. It's actually quite remarkable how much tension we can hold in the body and not be aware. But it's actually a natural part of physical operation is the body takes in certain things, air, nutrient, and then releases that which is we call waste. So focusing on the breath, that natural rhythm of taking in and letting go. I observe the breath of the body, the lungs at work, seeing how they take in air, oxygen, and then they naturally let go, release. The natural breath of the body, that rhythm of taking in and letting go. And as I observe the release of the air, seeing if it can cue the body to release tension as well. Breathing in, and then as I breathe out, as the lungs release, feeling tension melting in the body, perhaps the shoulders drop, or any hidden spaces of tension start to melt. That natural rhythm of breathing in and letting go. And allowing the mind to follow the rhythm of the breath, as if the mind is riding the waves of the breath. And starting to take on that same rhythm as if the mind is breathing, as if the mind is like a muscle. It takes hold of thoughts, but can it also release thoughts? Allow them to go into the past and be open to new thoughts. Feeling the mind release, that is, expand and open, and become available to take something new in, and releasing the old, being open. Om Shanti. So, letting go. Sometimes it kind of seems odd to people, even on the physical level, in physical fitness, what letting go has to do with anything. So we'll try and start there. But again, it sometimes challenges us. What does letting go have to do with physical fitness? Any ideas what place or role letting go might have in physical fitness? Any thoughts? Does it have a role? Does it have a place?
Um, I think I was just thinking about my work as a body worker.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of relate to it, as a body
Mm-hmm.
worker. One of my, intention is to release the physical tension, which refers to the knots, you know, scar tissue that's building up in the physical body of my clients. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, kind of relate to that, to releasing this or letting go of those
Mm-hmm.
tension that's building up, which can cause stress, postural misalignment. It affects the relationship, and so on and so forth. So
Right.
yeah, so that's how I can relate with the physical, letting go on the body of my clients and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you, Pauline. And we'll come back to that because that is quite significant as to what's going on. And when it gets to more acute level, which is when you might see it, um, what's going on that we're not able to kind of do that ourselves. We're just kind of holding tight and getting to that point. Did you want to add
Sorry
anything?
to add
Mhm.
to that.
Yeah.
I also observe when I'm not grounded,
Mm.
I'm not intentionally, true to myself when I'm giving a treatment. It,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm.
a client can receive, I can sense it that, I thought that it's not like the intention of helping them letting go, because sometimes I cannot let go of what's inside of me. So it's kind of a two-way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have to like release that tension and focus on the treatment before, I help people. So I think it's the same way as me as the giver.
Mm-hmm.
I, the best result to the receiver.
Right. Yeah, no, this is a great example in two ways, both at the end of what you're experiencing for the recipient, but also your responsibility almost as well in that. So we'll come back to that because it's quite significant. Nora, you want apparatus? No, that's okay. It's far better if you speak for yourself. There you go.
Well, listening to Pauline sharing, then I was thinking about the souls that I work with chronic pain. That in the wintertime is probably the worst kind of pain for them compared to the summer because they're holding their body tight because of the cold as well. So, not being able to let go, especially because they're not even conscious of it, there's a lot more pain.
I might be one of those that are doing that. Yes, absolutely. So it's a funny thing. There's inflammation, which is actually a heated type thing, but the cold, it's quite, that it gets worse in the cold is interesting because of that holding. Anyone else want to share what letting go, they observe the connection to just physical, although it's
It's
clearly hard not to cross over.
it's
Was
old
someone?
habits. It's old habit, like the way I've been doing things, even if I'm doing some kind of stretches and
Mhm.
exercise, but like I am doing it in a wrong way.
Does that
And
sound
then
familiar? Yeah, keep going.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I mean,
yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
I mean, I was told that I need to strengthen my core muscle, right? And
Mm,
I never understood like what. how the hell you are going to do that? And that lady was showing me, look at my core muscle. It's kind of an iron, right? I'm just putting my hand on iron, and I said, oh my gosh. And she said, yeah, that's the type of muscle you need. And I said, I'm going to get it. So she said that this is how. But then the way, at some point of time you were mentioning that people don't pay so much of attention building the core muscle. And that time, I remember that Judyman was saying the same thing, that they are doing everything else but focusing on building the core muscle and all. So yeah, I've been going through some certain different steps and exercise, and that's how I figured that out. That I mean, it's hard to let go of our old way of doing the stretches and exercising and all. And yeah, that's what I need to let it go, right? So old habits rather.
Right. I'm having to write these down. You're all giving me such good points. So, anything else that you've observed just on the physical level between the physical fitness and letting go? Oh, Sangeeta, nice. Competition with others. And that comes under a big one we're going to look at, which is the role of ego. Competition with others, great.
I guess I'm thinking about the very physical stuff versus, I know we can start to get to what Sangeeta is talking about, the subtle things, but is this just a simple thing about the trapeze artists from, if you're going to do that kind of move, you need to be able to let go one bar to hold on to the other bar if you're trying to get that kind of motion. So I think that transfers to a lot of things in life. You really can't move into that next part if you can't let go of something else. I don't think we really think about that.
Yeah, so we do notice a lot. Oh, sorry, it says, Nora, your voice is vibrating. That's powerful. We'll try and fix that, Sangeeta. I apologize. We have technical lack of knowledge. So we'll do our best to fix that. If not, then I'll get you just to share this one so they can hear you clearly. I have a lower the incline on machines in fitness. So it's true what if I've understood, Nilu, not even just the machines, but in terms of the level that soul's very connected to what Sangeeta was sharing, choosing the progression that's appropriate. And not being too concerned about whether things there's a very common one, which I so enjoyed when I heard, but around push-ups, some people consider doing push-ups from your toes is superior to doing them from your knees. And it's true from a physics perspective, the lever is different, but all of that goes out the window if the mechanics are off, if the alignment is off, there is no superiority. So choosing the progression where you can execute the exercise with very good quality is super important. And that's a part of letting go on deeper levels too. And what Nora was sharing, actually a little bit connected to what Hema was sharing about letting go of an old idea, letting go of something that allows me to progress or move forward. Yeah. Do you want to? Let's try it. Give us feedback if it vibrates.
Is the voice vibrating again?
Can you hear Nora?
Is it okay? Just let us know.
Yeah, it's okay, but still your voice is so low and sometimes
Oh, it's low.
Yeah, I'm still vibrating.
Talk like this.
It's too.
Now it's good.
It's okay now. Okay. Maybe it's connected to the progression piece that Neela was sharing about, but I remember when I injured the back about 15 years ago, and the kinds of exercises they wanted me to do it's the subtle muscles that are needed. And the exercise that we're showing me is basically you're on your back and you're almost looking like you're going to do like a curl up, but it's so subtle you can't even see yourself move. And when they're showing, they're like, no, 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 ease up, ease up, ease up. Like,
Mhm.
you need to let go even more. It needs to be so subtle.
Mhm.
Like it's but the kind of letting go that allows you to be more refined of what kind of function you're trying to
Mhm.
operate.
Mhm. So these are all excellent points, and we'll probably have to be here for a couple of hours to really cover them properly. But just starting with physical mechanics, and especially when the element of ego might step in. Um, very often we've talked about how spirituality is upside down to physicality, but it's really not that upside down when it comes to proper execution in the physical. So when we take something like core that Hema was talking about, um, because we tend to go at everything really intensely when we think of the word intensity or effort, it tends to get connected a lot to labor. And this happens really easily in physical endeavors and physical fitness. It's I'm going to hold on tighter. I'm going to crunch more. I'm going to shorten. I'm going to gird. I'm going to. And then you step into a Pilates class and you struggle because it's looking at the deep mechanics of how the body actually operates in a healthy way. And it's the opposite of a very superficial approach to wellness. So I remember whenever I walk into, particularly now because it's evolved, when I say evolved, Pilates has tried over and over to get closer and closer to the seed, to the founder, Joseph Pilates, what he was trying to do. It had moved away, got a little co-opted by general fitness, and now it's trying to move. Many practitioners are trying to get back to the seed of sort of his vision or understanding. And a lot of his understanding, ironically, came when he was not well in a hospital bed, healing. So I walk into a Pilates class and I'm coming from very, very old school, and when you say to someone, for example, we're going to work on the core or on the strength here, they immediately get down and start doing crunches, start shortening or tightening or holding the muscle. And even in Pilates, they don't even really like the word. They'll just use a spinal flexion rather than an abdominal crunch. So the front of the body is the abdomen, the back of the body is the spine. If I say abdominal crunch, I'm going to think of tightening or holding. But if I say spinal flexion, I'm thinking of lengthening or letting go the back of the body. It's a very different mindset. The bottom line is that if your core is strong, your spine would lengthen, not shorten, because that's just how the spine works. When the muscles are actually operating and supporting, doing what they're supposed to, you actually get taller. That's why we talk about this beautiful posture of, say, the dancer. They actually seem to grow. In fact, many people are shocked when they meet dancers because they, oh my gosh, you look so short. You look so, what are you doing down there? Because they look so ridiculously tall on stage because they've got this beautiful lengthening of the spine. Their core's working, but they're not doing this crunching and tightening. They're actually learning how to let go, lengthen. This is probably the most used word in a ballet class is lengthen, lengthen. Now, when I use the word lengthen, in a fitness studio, everyone looks at me like I've grown a third eye. It doesn't seem to have much meaning because it's the opposite of what they're doing. No, I shorten. When I'm working hard, things get shorter. I tighten. It's like, no. I'm used to when you're working hard, you lengthen, you release, you let go. And the reason, what happens when we shorten? And this is when they come to Pauline for a massage. When we shorten, we actually are reducing range of motion. And this is going to eventually lead to injury. What dancers have learned is how to become powerful whilst lengthening. It seems antithetical. It doesn't seem to go together. And dancers don't look like big bodybuilders. bring up my Sergei Polanin video for you, but boy, are they strong. How is this possible? How is it possible for dancers to be that strong, but they look so tiny? So tiny. I'm going to bring this one up because it involves the humility piece. So this concept in Pilates or dance or those physical pursuits that are very focused on mechanics connects letting go with becoming more powerful. And this is a really strange concept in the physical fitness world, but it actually is the concept for using the body in a healthy way, in a way that's going to have longevity. So we even say to weightlifters, it's okay, but make sure you're stretching. Make sure you're stretching. Your body needs to lengthen out because it's built that way. It's built to have this length, this range of motion. Now, fascia is getting in there, this concern again, it loves that movement, that range of motion, that release, that letting go. And so then we start to come to what Pauline was talking about. And I've shared this story before, but this proper alignment of the body that is so much, the body loves to be, if we look at little toddlers, this natural flexibility, and we're like, what happened? Where does it go? We get tighter and tighter. But the body loves range of motion, letting go, looseness, coupled with mastery. It loves that. And so this kind of releasing, even just earlier today, I was talking with quite a well-known fitness leader, and they were saying, yeah, no, my knees are hurting, my quads, my range of motion. And they said, are you sitting all day? Yeah. So we're very short. We're becoming very constricted, very tight, and we're not releasing, letting go. Super important. And it can actually start to lead from that physical tightness or shortening, it can start to affect the emotional and the mental and eventually the spiritual. So there's many stories of, mind body practitioners taking their clients and putting them what they call a heart opening posture. So on yoga blocks, and they'll start to cry. They just were asked to lie with, even on the floor, just with opening up, just letting go, releasing, and they start to cry. And the reason is because this tightening of the body is also holding other things as well. And the moment that they physically start to open, then they're kind of inviting other things to open up as well. And so there's stories of them crying or getting quite emotionally, or at least feeling very vulnerable because they're opening, they're letting go. And my own story, I remember going to a mitzvah practitioner. We've told this before, but it has to do with the point that eventually leads to yoga, that Pauline brought up the responsibility of the practitioner in supporting the client in letting go. In mitzvah, it's about realigning the body into its proper alignment, and the practitioner is going to transfer, it's quite deliberate, transfer their alignment to the client through the base, through their feet. And it's so subtle. It's so subtle. They just take hold of your big toes while you're lying on a bed. They have to be in this proper alignment, this very open, released alignment that is healthy body alignment, and transfer that. So as you're sitting on the bed, you start to notice these very subtle releases happening. They're not doing anything hands-on other than holding your big toes. But there's this interesting transfer of alignment that's going on that I've always really found fascinating after coming into Raj Yoga, because that's exactly what Raj Yoga looks at, this transfer of spiritual well-being from one soul to another soul. In this case, from Supreme Soul to us souls. So it's quite a powerful thing. The practitioner has to be in proper alignment, that release. So if I come in, and we're kind of used to this, I know for me that there were times when I'd go visit, say, the medical doctor, And they'd walk into the room, and I could just tell from the vibe or maybe the look on their face that they're holding on to something. They're worried about something. And, they'll ask me how I am, but there's really no point. There's really no point in caring until I ask, are you okay? Do you want to talk about something? Like first they can't actually provide care until they get a chance to kind of realign, to let go of whatever might be considered. They're just too distracted. It's really not quality of care. So the responsibility of the practitioner, so we say, physician, heal thyself. I have to make sure that I'm in a certain state. And there's a rule with fitness instructors that you never go into the class and talk about your problems because it's not about you. You don't go in there, they don't care. They came there to have their stress released, not take on your stress. So whatever problems you got going on, leave them at the door or sort them out. You gotta let them go before you come in front of that group. Yes, if there's some entertainment value, you can share them. Pauline, go ahead.
So I also remember that there are times that if I sense that something is so stressful about a client, so I really and vocally tell the client. So once on the table, I have this intention that I'm telling her that, okay, this is your moment.
Mm.
I want you to focus on yourself, let go of any worries that may not serve you today, and just focus on your breathing and, just let go. And the moment I said that intention, it kind of like they trusted me and they're just happy at the end of the moment. I can tell that they're so grateful about that.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so,
No.
saying the intention like vocally that they can hear, I think sometimes helps for me to like help them let go,
Yeah.
because some of them they're not conscious that they're carrying stress. And I remember as well one client tell me that I'm so stressed, I want to get out of this bed happy, and it's
Mm.
I have the full responsibility of distressing her and
Mm.
a new person at the end of the treatment. So
Yeah.
so it's sometimes hard if you yourself are not grounded
Yeah.
such
Absolutely.
help to these people. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's very true what you share, that these sort of verbal cues can be very helpful because of being even unaware. I remember being very young. It was, oh, sorry. Great. So Nilu shared, if you don't let go, your accuracy is affected a lot. Absolutely. It's like you're not dealing with a blank canvas, quite frankly. You can't, this is why it's so nice to work with young children, not just because their flexibility is there, but because they're a blank canvas. They're not holding onto immediate stress, but they're also holding on to old ideas or mechanics. You're really dealing with a blank canvas. So there can be more accuracy. But I remember being very young. It was grade 6. I'm not sure why this happened. It's kind of an odd story. Maybe it was grade 4 or 5, but very young. And it was music class. We were in music class. We must have had a very progressive music teacher because I'm not sure why this was happening, but she told us to all lie on the ground. So we all lay on the ground. I think maybe she was about to actually take us into a meditation. I'm not sure. But what I do remember is she made us do an exercise where she said, okay, now relax your shoulders. And so, we're little kids. And then she said, okay, now scrunch your shoulders up. Go ahead. Everyone can do it now. Scrunch your shoulders up to your ears like you're wearing them for earrings. Now relax your shoulders. And I distinctly remember to this day that before she did this, just the first time I thought, okay, I've got my shoulders relaxed. But when she did the contrast of tightening, now really said, oh, my shoulder, I didn't realize how much I was holding tension. Like that really helped me. So often we're holding so much tension and we have no idea. No idea. So, how does this relate to spirituality? Everything we've talked about deeply relates to spirituality. In fact, one of the biggest powers, the main powers in spirituality, what is causing basically all of our distress and sorrow or stress is the inability to let go. If you go up to someone who's really stressed over something and you say, you just got to let go, And they'll go, well, I know I have to let go. Joanne, are you going to share something? Go ahead.
I'm hearing another voice while you're talking. So
Oh,
I missed a couple of sentences back,
oh.
and I wanted to hear it. And
Okay.
something happened.
And
Can
moving
you just
from
back up a bit?
trustee awareness
I hear it
towards the
too.
See, do you
body
hear it?
I do.
It's weird.
It is
As a
weird.
trustee.
Trustee. I think we got another class going on.
I'm going to
Nurturing
Weird.
what?
the body through the sense organs.
So it's
I better make sure
The
nothing's happening on
focus.
my computer. But I don't think so.
I am a point of light.
so weird, Joanne. I agree with you. There's something weird going on. Let me see if I can.
A living being.
And I don't know
Beforehand.
how to control it. Oh.
No, okay, just relax and we'll find.
No, it's not you,
Only
Joanne. It's
notice
absolutely something playing.
Yeah.
I nurture the
It's
relationship
coming from you, Joanne.
Is it?
with my sense organs.
Because your mic,
I'm a point of light.
is moving with the sound,
Weird.
A living being
but
in
not
the center of the forehead.
other than when you're
I have the same problem.
Seated on my lotus throne.
wow, that's from this morning. Yeah, Joanne,
I
your
nurture
mic is
the
moving with the
with my
voice we're
sense
hearing.
organs through good habits.
And that's from this morning. It's so new.
But I wasn't there for this morning.
That's what's so weird. But why is this is fascinating.
What have we created?
I don't know, but it's kind of cool. I apologize to everyone. I have no idea how this is happening. We may all have to go out and come back in. I don't know. Wow.
Yeah, I think that will work. Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I'm seeing Sangeeta has got her mic off. So everybody else's mic is off except me. And then I see somebody by the name of Sangeeta. Her
Yeah.
mic is not off.
No, Sangeeta just started to talk, but before she started talking,
Huh.
I was watching the mics, and when that voice that we were hearing was going, your mic was moving. So I know it's from this morning. I know there's no more commentary. So
Okay, I'm going to start closing some things off.
Yeah, I'm also going to leave and I'm coming back.
okay, I don't think it was you, Sangeeta, but great, that might help.
But there's no music, like there's nothing active on my computer.
It's so wonderful. I have no, I've got everything closed.
Yeah, that's what I'm shutting everything down.
I find it a wonder. I apologize. This is kind of fun.
It's weird, which means
All I can say is I know no more voice will happen for till the end of the session because
Okay,
there was no more commentary.
Well-
But something might be playing in the background, just so we know. Anyways, cool. I'm not sure what was said, Joanne, that you might have missed, but
well,
just sharing from my experience as a child how much we hold on to things without knowing. So when we get into spirituality, this power to let go is the big one. That it is actually holding on to things, that this thing we call it attaching, holding on to things that's causing a lot of difficulty for us. But to go up to someone who's in distress and say, you gotta let go, would be very irritating to them because they probably figured that out on their own, what they need to do. They just, how do I do that? How do I let go? That's the question. So it's really quite challenging. It's a superpower, the power to let go. And even as you're sitting there right now, you can certainly reflect on moments in your life when some incident happened to you, something that made an impression, good or bad. Usually it's the challenging ones that this happens around. But how long we hold on to that, we say a past hurt or whatever we want to call it, lack of forgiveness, but we just cannot forget it. We can't let it go.
what's happening there, because it's causing us a lot of pain, actually. We're not processing it in a healthy way. When I say letting go, I'm not saying repressing. I'm not talking about, okay, I'm going to just shut it away. And of course, it'll become a volcano and erupt at some later date. We don't know how to process it in a healthy way so that we're not carrying baggage around with us, because it is going to affect our functioning, this holding on, just as it does with the body. When the body gets stressed, tight, held, it will lead to injury. And the same happens to us spiritually, stressed, tight, holding on to something, not able to process it, then it's going to cause us a lot of injury or compromise our well being, this heaviness. So we often say the sign of someone who's very spiritually evolved is they're very light and easygoing. And it's not that they're ignoring anything, but they've got some kind of wisdom or schema or paradigm that they're working with that's able to accommodate and process things in a healthy way. So, this term letting go in spirituality, to me, is really the essence of something we call purity. So when I think about something pure, and I know we've used the example of plain yogurt in the past. So if we have this container of plain white yogurt, you can imagine that, and then we mix something into it, and it gets really mixed in, and we can't, and the plain white yogurt can't let it go. It's starting to mix it into so that it's no longer has that integrity. It's become something else because it couldn't let it go. So, how do we get back, release this foreign entity that's gotten in the strawberries or whatever, and get back to that plain white yogurt, the original state? The same happens to us, that these sort of foreign dynamics or aspects get into us of fear, or ego was brought up a few times, or really attaching insecurity. They kind of get mixed into us. They're so assimilated that we actually say, that's who I am. That's human nature. That's normal. And it actually wasn't the original state. We know that even within a lifetime, if we look at a very, very young person, infant, we talk about their innocence or purity. They don't seem to have, of course, many aspects can happen that will change that quickly, but they don't seem to really have a lot of ego or the fearlessness. I know I've been in workshops with young adults, and they can actually pinpoint the moment. It's usually in their young adolescent years where they lost self-confidence. They lost that fearlessness, that wonder. So we talk about the loss of innocence or purity. It's literally a change in who we are and taking it on. We take on this other personality, where actually foreign things have gotten mixed into us and we're holding on to them. And so, how do we let go in such a deep way? Just before joining you, I was reading a class, and it's so powerful. It's a class actually about Brahma Baba, the first student of Raj Yoga. And it was talking about 5 really powerful, I don't know if we can call them traits or qualities, that he exhibited in his own spiritual journey. And I believe they were faith, love, renunciation, which is what we're talking about. That's as far as I got. Oh, yes, tapasya, which is deep meditation or effort, and service. So the renunciation, which this idea of letting go, is so fascinating. This was very, very central to his spiritual effort. And it's quite connected to people's concept of spirituality, this letting go, renunciation. But it's a very odd, it's the same feeling I get in physical fitness. So, as an example, the company I am with, they launched an online platform during these times for people to be able to exercise online in their homes. And they put on the platform a variety of classes. So there was HIIT or interval training, boot camp, strength, cardio, choreography, dance inspired, and then yoga, Pilates, fusion, the mind body. So I have a question for you. They are able to track which of the classes people use the most and which they use the least. They can get those stats. So again, we've got the grouping of the classic interval training, boot camp, CrossFit kind of classes. We've got choreography based, movement, impact, those kinds of dance inspired. And we've got the mind body, the yoga, Pilates, fusion. Those are the general categories of the classes. Which classes do you think are most popular, the ones that are most watched or used? We have a vote for HIIT and interval. CrossFit stuff. What do you think? Oh, Joanne. Oh, Joanne, I love you. But sadly, no. That is the least popular. Yeah. Yeah. See, you're
Athlete,
unusual. You're unique. Sorry, go ahead. Hello.
athlete one.
The athletic ones, the interval training, the strength training. It's a very deep concept that these are classes where we progress. If I sweat, something's going on. If I hurt, something's going on. If there's some kind of masochistic element to this, something's going on. Mind body is the lowest in terms of being accessed or used, the yoga, Pilates, fusion. And I remember distinctly hearing one of our members share. She's in a family where her brother is a hockey player and she's a ballet dancer. And they both were at the same school. It's a school that has a very, very extensive athletic program. And there came a point when they were giving exemptions to some of the students for going to physical fitness class. And it came automatically to the hockey players. They would not have to go to gym class because they already were involved in such an athletic schedule. The dancers were not exempted. They had to fight. They had to appeal because they were not seen as athletic. We have a mindset that, again, it's this earn, crunch, and run, tighten, and it's got to kill us for something to be happening, progressing. And it carries over into so many aspects of our life. And we see it in spirituality that we've developed a very harsh attitude towards renunciation or letting go. So when you say spirituality, we hear people say things like, I don't have time for spirituality, or a little bit of fear of, I'm going to lose something if there's going to be loss involved. You're going to ask me to give things up, aren't you? I won't be able to do this or that anymore. So there's a real sense of something difficult happening with renunciation, some sort of loss, some sort of boot camp element to spirituality. Yeah, we have a question.
I'm sure maybe you are going to be talking about, but when you're using that example of the yogurt,
Mm.
is that a part of, just we still have very showy ways of trying to let go, especially when it comes to deep-seated attitudes. I guess I was really touched by this morning's class, which was a lot about, it's if you really want respect from others, but it's you still don't go at it. You really need to focus on your self-respect. I guess I was thinking about yogurt, but with again forgiveness, is it really forgiving others? Is it forgiving yourself? And I don't mean it in a platitude way, but like really, what is it that's bothering you?
Yeah.
And that because of that in itself is still even more invisible.
Definitely. I think what very experienced fitness practitioners figure out, and what we definitely want to figure out in spiritual, how do things really work? we kind of go into things with a surface understanding, and then we try to move along with only that surface understanding. But how do things really work, especially when it comes to spirituality, because it's so incognito? And how do things actually work? What is this renunciation really about when it comes to spirituality? And what's the secret behind letting go? We know that that lightness, that easiness, the word we use is liberation or freedom, that this is a very healthy state, just as it is with the body when it has that range of motion, but it's connected to mastery or power. Letting go too is a power. It's a form of mastery. But what's actually going on? How do I, the soul, really function? What is letting go really about? Why am I holding on to things anyway? Which is coming to that whole question that was just brought up. So spirituality really starts to look in such a compassionate way, because it's very interesting. In the oldest scripture, the Gita, it talks about taking joy in renunciation. And again, we've translated that, feel the burn. It's great. Oh, that class killed me. I feel great. That's not what it means by taking joy in renunciation. It's not take joy in pain. We take joy where we are liberated from pain. It's not really healthy to be taking joy from pain, but that liberation from pain, which is why souls go to Pauline for a massage. They want liberation from pain after putting themselves through so much pain. So what is going on? What am I holding on to? And when we say renunciation, I'm actually trying to let go of something that's causing me pain, but I don't quite get how I work. So what we then try to do is we try to, okay, I need those people out of my life, or I need to change my job, or I need to change my hair color, or I need to change my house because it's causing me pain. I'm supposed to let go. And that suggests I haven't really understood what is going on inside of me, because what's going to happen? Yes, I could change jobs, I could move house, but we slowly start to see the same dynamic recreating in this new context. It all happens again. So as Dr. Seuss said, wherever you go, there you are. So something's going on inside of me that's causing me distress, and it's got nothing to do with anything out there. I might be interfacing with the world out there through the lens of this sort of distorted dynamic inside of myself. True, a really powerful, and this is what I loved about reading about the life of Brahma Baba, the first student who was such a master of renunciation, and very deep renunciation, the deepest, which was brought up in the sharing. Ego, this distorted form of I. He was a master of letting go of ego. Now, I've seen readings where souls figure out ego's the cause of my problems. I gotta kill it or crush it or get rid of it. No I. There can be no I. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, how sustainable is that? And can I ever arrive at a peaceful place through violence, through crushing and killing and humiliation? So what spirituality, or at least the spiritual practice we do, explores, which I deeply appreciate, is it doesn't say let go to a vacuum, to nothing. That would feel very difficult and not be sustainable. It's like, how long can I hold my breath? How long can I stop eating? If I've got a problem with food, I'm just going to stop eating. No, no, that's not sustainable. So rather, it looks at what we call a reframing or replacement. So if ego is the issue, ego is causing me to attach, hang on to all sorts of things out there, including at the gym. Out of ego, I gotta do things at a higher level than perhaps my body can handle. So the machine at the wrong incline, or too many weights or too many reps, but You know, my ego's telling me you got to do this. And I see people trying to keep up in classes that they almost kill themselves out of ego. So ego is very interesting in terms of what it gets to attach to. So rather than saying I got to crush it or kill it, or I do have to let go of it. There has to be that renunciation. But because I found something far sweeter and healthier, a sweet, healthy alternative called self-respect. If I start to experience self-respect, I very naturally will let go of ego. So we're looking at having other experiences. And with the yogurt, you know, I'm getting a taste for plain yogurt again. Perhaps it was my fondness of strawberry that got that mixed up in me. So I'm starting to develop a fondness for plain yogurt again. So I start to consume more and more plain yogurt, and that starts to dilute, let go of the strawberry. But the self-respect was a recurring story in Brahma Baba's life. He was having a very different experience of the two most powerful words that are very connected, that lead to attaching, I and mine. My, of course, is the term that we use for attachment or holding on. My this, my that. We'll say my car, my husband, my house, my position, my intelligence, my skills, my ideas. We love this word, my. And the word isn't bad. It's just being used under the force or control of an illusion, or using it in an illusory sort of way, because we're saying things are mine that can never actually be mine. You know, this idea of, for example, my car. Now, that car was in a car shop before I had anything to do with it. And I went to the car shop, I saw the car, I thought, I think that will serve the purpose for now. And so for a short period of time, I acquired it. That is, I used it, we say, as a trustee. And eventually it will go bye-bye because it's temporary. It will come and it will go. Whereas we're using this term mine as if it's eternal. This is mine. This is mine forever and ever, in the sense that it's shaping my sense of self. And the moment I use things as if they're shaping my sense of self, I'm going to get into trouble. I'm mixing it into the plain yogurt. I'm going to get into trouble because they're going to go. They're temporary. And if they do, it's literally like a piece of me has been ripped out and taken away. It really jars our inner world, sends us into upheaval, because I based my sense of self on something external and temporary. And so, but if I have a very strong sense of self, that's independent of being based on all these temporary external things. So my sense of mine is what's truly within the self, what truly travels with me through time. We call it eternal. Then I won't have to attach. This idea of self-respect is a very internal sense of my own value. Ego is an externalized sense of my value. It's based on external or image. And things will keep changing, so I keep shifting. So just to break things up before we have to go, I know we're running out of time. We're going to try and share this cute little video, and I'm going to try and do it. Close your eyes for a while, please. While I figure this out. Because I don't want you to see who it is. Okay. So this is, remember we talked about how dancers look so as if they can't lift anything. So I don't think we'll be able to, I don't know if you can appreciate what this dancer, the male dancer, is doing. Usually you don't even look at the male dancer. You only look at the female because she's the decoration. And that's the one you're supposed to look at. But try and watch the male dancer. See what he's doing. Now, even if she's starving herself to death, she still probably is 110 pounds. And look what he's doing with this weight. He must have remarkable stress. And he looks as if nothing is going on. It's going to get even more exciting. Tell by the music. He's got one arm, he's holding her. I just want to mention that. And you don't even see heaving or hoeing or anything. It's like, oh yes, she's a feather. She's an absolute feather. No problem. I want to mention it's crazy what he's doing. Okay, I just want to mention And I don't think these dances are jokes. All right. So the dancer there, who is not the centerpiece, sorry, is someone named Sergei Polanin, who is one of the top male dancers in the world. And he is not even the centerpiece. Male dancers have no ego. They can't. Because they're never the centerpiece, very rarely. Sometimes they get a solo, but usually they're just lifting heavy objects. So this ego, it's remarkable how it really distorts, gets us to attach and want. But if I had a deep sense of self-respect, which Brahma Baba was developing, he had the best teacher in the universe, really. Beyond the universe, we say God, but really developing a very, very deep sense of self-respect, independent of any external validation whatsoever. Sometimes we can't even conceive of that because as we start to go into the spiritual study, we just see ego everywhere. We think, is there really life after ego? There is, absolutely. And once one, the point that Nora brought up, rather than chasing after respect from others or begging for it or manipulating others, we start to give respect. So a bit connected to what Pauline was sharing. When I'm really in a healthy alignment, I'm able to actually transfer that to others. And the irony is that they will respect you without you needing it. They will respect you. So there's so many beautiful stories of Brahma Baba and his renunciation, not because he was just letting go and becoming empty. He was quietly filling up with some very healthy things, his true self, the truth. He was obsessed with the truth, that which is eternal, really filling up. And I feel it was very interesting. There was a story about how, they would build new buildings and, Brahma Baba was older. He was the first student, had all this wisdom. And so they wanted out of respect to give him these new buildings, these new rooms. And he said, no, I'll keep my old room. I'm fine. They're for you. I'll keep my old room. And his old room, they called it a stable, actually. It was not insulated. It was tiny little closet. What we go to now is about 3 times the size of what he was using. And it's remarkable to think about, actually. But I feel in his heart, there was no deprivation. There was no sense of loss. He was experiencing something so beautiful. He really had no interest in attaching to the things we usually attach to. If you put him into a nice room, he'd be fine. If you didn't have him in the nice room, he'd be fine too. It made no change in what he's experiencing because he was filling up with something very incognito that I believe every soul is so hungry for. So hungry for, but we keep attaching to things out there trying to get it. And they will never give us what we are hungry for and really have a right for that inner dignity, that purity, that self-respect, that royalty, these very basic qualities of our true self. We're so hungry for them. And we keep trying to get them out there. And I remember recently I found myself in a rental car. And I remember I was sitting in it. And it's a very new model. And I was sitting there for a very long time, not driving it because basically I didn't know how. There was so much going on. It was so digital. It was like sitting in a computer, and I was thinking, wow, this is why did we do this? Like, why? What's wrong with just having it's a bit like a phone to me. You know, when I was young, the phone was used to make phone calls, and that was it. Just phone calls. That was all that was. I don't think people use their phones for phone calls much anymore. They use it for everything else. And they are so attached to it. If anything happens to that phone, it is the end of their world. Of course, this is our personal devices. But just to use it as a phone, and I have no interest. I'm constantly getting in trouble for this. I really have no interest. I'm forced to often for different reasons to use it, and I will, professionally, but I really I have no, like, I don't want to text. I don't want to take photos or selfies or anything. There's just no taste for it. And I feel that Brahma Baba was filling up with something quite beautiful. He was literally getting what every soul hungers for. His taste, he was being satisfied, so filled up, so much fortune. But it was all this invisible stuff because spirituality is invisible. But he was receiving this that he really didn't need. It was so natural to let go of status or recognition or fame or facilities. He really, if they're there, it's okay. If they're not, it's okay. There was no denial or deprivation. In fact, he was full, he was content. So letting go depends on filling up. That's what this whole talk came down to. So what we've noticed in a physical fitness class, when we're trying to move souls into a mind-body class, classes that help to release and restore, they have to actually enjoy it. They actually have to feel like they're getting something enjoyable out of it. And I know for me, of course, doing all those crazy, oh, Joanne, no one calls. People use WhatsApp. Oh, we won't even go there. I get into so much trouble because I don't have my WhatsApp on and people can't get me. People are trying to get me right now, I'm sure. Anyways, but they need to actually feel that's a pleasant experience. And I know for me, after a class, I will have almost an equal amount of time for stretching, for lengthening, for restoring. It feels awful if I don't. It's so delicious physically. The body says, thank you. Thank you for doing this, for releasing, for letting go, for stretching. That's the body. We love that emotionally. We love that freedom mentally, which we call creativity. And we deeply love it spiritually. We love that feeling of lightness, of freedom, of easiness that comes because we're so full, so content. So, this is really what I think a vibrant, robust spiritual path should be. It shouldn't be about deprivation and asceticism, should be really filling us up. So it's not like, oh, I have to go sit in meditation. Oh my gosh, I'm checking the clock all the time. Daddy Jenki used to wag her fingers. Are you checking the clock? Are you looking at who just entered the room? Are you not so absorbed, so enjoying what you're experiencing that so it should be like, I can't wait to go into that beautiful world of silence. Does silence seem empty to me? Or is it a place where I fill up? Because again, spiritual food is incognito. Silence might seem incognito on a physical level, but spiritually speaking, it's very rich, very full with all that feeds the soul. And we even say that if you want to know or experience truth, you will need to go into silence. We need to end because we're over time. I'm so sorry. I just looked at the clock. We have to let go. So I have no idea what the topic is next week. So sorry. We'll just be free and easy about that. There'll be something. Perhaps you'll join us. That would be lovely. Thank you so much for joining today. It was really nice. All of your contributions were great. It's such a full topic, to be honest with you, that I feel we really just scratched the surface. But it's always the same time, 2 to 3 o'clock Saturdays, always the same time on the Zoom platform. So, shall we take a moment? It'll be a very essenceful reflection. It's said about daydreamers, their eyes are open, they seem physically to be here, but they're so absorbed in their daydreams, their imaginings, that all other thoughts fall away. They naturally let go of any other thoughts or concerns. They're so absorbed in their dreams. Spirituality is being so absorbed in the experience of truth, what is eternal, that it gives me a very sweet release, reprieve from the concerns and worries of day-to-day life. I'm not ignoring them or escaping from them. I'm engaging in a very deep experience that will enhance how I live my day-to-day life, how I approach roles and responsibilities. Where does it begin? With an eternal, a true experience of the self. I am not just my roles and responsibilities. I'm not just the physical things around me or the positions I hold. I'm not even just this physical body. These will all come and go. A much deeper experience of myself that is timeless. Even as I think about this one lifetime, this physical body has been changing around me. What it was like at the age of 8, different than what it was at the age of 20, different than what it is right now. It has been changing around me, but inside, I feel like this timeless being, like a child. Who really am I eternally? As time marches on, who am I, the traveler through time? I am this being inside the life in this body. I am the one that thinks, experiences, expresses through the body. I am a soul. And I never die. I can feel how the body has changed around me. And eventually, in this form, it will perish. But I, the soul, will continue, taking another costume, continuing my journey through time. This remarkable, wonderful sense of self, wanting to explore it more and more, what it means to say, I am a soul, what truly is mine, the qualities and treasures within the self, wanting to know all about me, as a soul. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for joining. It's really a pleasure, and perhaps we'll see you next week.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
You made it fantastic, Joanne, and I don't know what that was in the background, but it might come back. Just warning you.
Yes, be ready.